Every single day, millions of us willingly surrender our, most valuable possessions, strip off our shoes in public, and just submit to interrogations by armed guards.
Right, and it's all in exchange for a tiny piece of paper.
Exactly, a tiny piece of paper with a barcode on it. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. The goal is to arm you with practical tips, essential procedures, and the specific English phrases you need to travel with absolute confidence. Okay, let's unpack this, because airports aren't just buildings.
Far from it.
They are highly engineered, high-stress obstacle courses, right? Designed to process humanity at scale. And it can be so overwhelming.
Which is exactly why understanding the mechanics of these spaces is so transformative. Knowing the what and the why behind airport procedures takes travel from being this massive source of acute anxiety and turns it into a predictable routine.
You stop being a victim of the process.
Right. From the baggage limits to border control, when you know the logic, you become insider.
So let's start at the first hurdle. You've just walked through the sliding doors of the departures hall. Before you can even think about flying, you have to get your bearings and, well, offload your luggage.
The sensory assault begins immediately. The noise, the rushing crowds.
Yeah, the giant departure boards flipping. And our source text, Testo and Collado, emphasizes that your very first task is often just polite interaction, asking airport staff for directions to a specific check-in counter or, a zone or terminal.
And it highlights using very specific, polite English phrasing. Things like, could you point me to Terminal 2?
Which sounds so basic, right? Like for a savvy traveler, you might think, I know how to ask a question. But we aren't talking about language learning here. We're talking about tactical communication.
Precisely. It's about utilizing high politeness, low friction syntax. Think about the environment. Airport workers are suffering from profound decision fatigue.
I can't even imagine. They see thousands of stressed people every shift.
Exactly. Panic, unpredictable people. So when you approach them using deferential, predictable phrasing instead of a demanding tone, you trigger an automatic, helpful response.
You're signaling that you're an easy problem to solve.
You're a low-maintenance variable in a chaotic space.
That's such a great way to frame it. Okay, so you get your directions, you reach the check-in desk, you present your passport, verify your flight details, and then you hit the first physical constraint.
The dreaded baggage scale.
Yes, weighing the checked luggage. Now, the text specifically highlights the incredibly common 23-kilogram weight limit.
Yeah.
And I have to ask, how strict is that limit, really?
It's notoriously strict.
Right. But is it just a money-making scheme for airlines to slap you with overage fees? What is the psychological effect of handing over your bags right at the start?
What's fascinating here is that the 23-kilogram limit is rarely about the aircraft's maximum takeoff weight. And it isn't purely a revenue tactic either.
Wait, really? Because it definitely feels like a revenue tactic when you're paying $50 for an extra kilo.
I know, it feels punitive.
Yeah.
But it's actually deeply rooted in international labor laws and occupational health standards.
Oh, because someone actually has to lift it.
Yes. Down below the terminal, there are miles of automated conveyor belts, sure. But eventually, a human being has to physically move that bag.
In a tiny cargo hold.
Exactly. 23 kilograms is widely modeled as the maximum safe limit for a single baggage handler to lift repeatedly without risking long-term spinal injury.
So it's an ergonomic boundary. It's not about jet fuel. It's about protecting a human's spine.
Right. It's the critical foundation of international flight logistics.
That makes the frantic repacking of a suitcase on the terminal floor feel a little less like punishment and more like, I don't know, a safety protocol.
A necessary evil. But think about the psychology of that moment. When that bag goes down the conveyor belt and you get your boarding pass.
That golden ticket?
Yes. It's a profound shift. It is the handshake of the journey, the official moment the airline accepts you and your belongings.
You're physically and mentally lighter. You've surrendered control.
And that surrender lowers your cognitive burden, which actually primes you for the strict compliance required in the very next phase.
Oh, man. Which brings us to the ultimate bottleneck. Security.
The most notorious checkpoint of all.
Right. This is where your autonomy is just stripped away entirely. You go from being a paying customer to being treated as a potential threat.
It's a very abrupt transition.
Here's where it gets really interesting because the security line is such a bizarre, ritualistic phenomenon. It's this compulsory obstacle course where everyone is suddenly hopping around without shoes, juggling laptops, pulling out liquids.
Putting them in those little clear bags.
Yeah, exactly. And our text emphasizes the crucial importance of following officer directions exactly as you move through the scanners. But I want to push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
Doesn't this process actually cause more travel stress than it alleviates? Like, you're rushing, people are yelling about belts, everyone's panicking. It feels like theater.
Well, the sensory overload is undeniable. The acute stress you feel in that line is a very real biological response.
It's awful.
But following those directions to the letter isn't just about the physical scanning of your shoes. It is exactly what creates a secure environment.
How so? By making everyone miserable.
No, by creating a behavioral baseline of compliance. The stress is a byproduct of the strict standardization they need to push millions of unpredictable passengers through a filter.
So the rigidity itself is the tool.
Yes. Security personnel are trained to look for anomalies. If 99 people follow the bizarre ritual perfectly, taking out electronics, walking through the scanner.
Then the one person who acts weird stands out.
Exactly. The one person who breaks the pattern or shows unusual micro-expressions becomes instantly visible. The routine makes deviations obvious.
Huh. I never thought about it like that.
And for you, the traveler, anticipating these steps is the key to minimizing anxiety. Pre-packing those liquids, wearing slip-on shoes,
Yeah.
it gives you back your agency.
So you're an active participant, not just a bewildered victim.
Right. You're prepared.
Okay, so you grab your bins, reassemble your life, put your shoes back on, and enter the terminal. And suddenly, time works entirely differently.
It's a completely liminal space.
It really is, like a timeless vacuum where eating a heavy meal or drinking a beer at 5 a.m. feels totally normal.
Socially acceptable somehow.
Yeah, but you still have to manage the wait. Our notes talk about using the flight information screens to track your status, looking specifically for that comforting English phrase, on time.
Two very important words.
The most important. But the notes also talk about interacting with staff at cafes or engaging in small talk with fellow passengers to manage stress.
Right, managing the psychological weight.
But how do you balance those two things? How do you balance keeping this paranoid eye on the on-time screen with actually relaxing at a duty-free shop?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, your brain in a liminal space is constantly seeking certainty.
Because you're basically trapped.
Exactly. So that hypervigilance, looking at the screen every 3 minutes, it's a localized dopamine hit. It confirms the system hasn't failed you.
But that's exhausting.
Neurologically exhausting. Which is why engaging in light small talk or interacting with shop staff is so grounding.
Wait, but what if you're an introvert? Small talk sounds even worse than staring at a screen.
Well, it's not about forcing extroversion. It's about performing mundane, low-stakes human actions. Buying a coffee, asking a question. It pulls your nervous system out of an internal anxiety spiral.
Oh, I see. It proves to your brain that you're safe in the present moment.
Exactly. Keeps you present while you wait for that gate to open rather than projecting into some uncontrollable future where you miss your connection.
Okay, so you ground yourself, the screen says go to gate, and it's time for the main event. Getting on the plane.
Scanning documents at the gate, walking down the jet bridge.
And finding your assigned seat, which involves navigating the strict hierarchy of the window seat, the middle seat, and the aisle.
And the overhead bins.
Ooh, the bins. So what does this all mean? I always say stowing carry-on luggage is basically a high-stakes, real-life game of Tetris, played in front of a very impatient audience.
It is the most acute social friction point of the journey.
People completely forget how to be considerate. Everyone just ruthlessly protects their bag space.
Well, finding your seat and using those bins efficiently requires a delicate spatial etiquette, and it actually impacts the departure time of the entire flight.
It's fluid dynamics, right? Someone stops in the aisle to fold a jacket, and it sends a shockwave of delay all the way back up the bridge.
Literal traffic jam physics.
Okay, but let's debate the seat assignments. The window seat. Is it really the undisputed king, or is there a hidden advantage to the others?
It comes down to a choice between a physical boundary and behavioral autonomy.
Okay, break that down for me.
The window seat provides a hard physical boundary. You have control over the light shade, a wall to lean on. You're insulated.
Safe from the snack cart hitting your elbow.
Exactly. But the aisle seat offers behavioral freedom. You can stand up, stretch, go to the restroom without negotiating a complex social contract to climb over people.
Right. Which leaves the poor middle seat as this weird buffer state. No isolation, no freedom.
Though sociologically, the unspoken rule is the middle seat gets uncontested dominion over both armrests.
It's the only fair compromise.
A vital diplomatic concession.
So you survive the aisle, you claim your armrests, the plane flies, and you land. But the journey isn't truly over yet.
Not until you're legally admitted and reunited with your belongings.
which means navigating baggage reclaim and crossing the border. So first, you follow the specific signage to baggage reclaim and find the carousel for your flight.
And you wait.
The suspense of the baggage carousel is insane. You're just staring at a moving belt, praying that your 23-kilogram bag actually made it.
But when it drops, the psychological relief is immense. It's the resolution of that initial handshake at check-in.
Right, the barcode actually worked. But then you face customs and immigration, interacting with border officials.
The final hurdle.
And it is universally nerve-wracking, even when you've done absolutely nothing wrong.
Completely natural to feel that way.
Our source text highlights the standard idioms you need here, explaining the purpose of your visit, usually having to say either business or pleasure.
A classic phrase.
And declaring goods using the crucial phrase, nothing to declare. But why is the language so rigid? Most modern trips don't fall neatly into just business or just pleasure.
This raises an important question about how border control actually works. The rigidity is entirely intentional.
So they don't actually care about my itinerary.
Not exactly. They are making polite conversation. They are conducting a rapid cognitive assessment. They use standardized phrases like business or pleasure to establish a behavioral baseline.
Oh, just like the security line.
Exactly. They're watching how your brain processes a binary question. A definitive answer has a low cognitive load.
But if I start rambling about visiting my cousin but also checking work emails...
You drastically increase your cognitive load. And high cognitive load mimics the microexpressions of deception, hesitation, vocal fluctuation.
Wow. So keeping it simple is literally the safest legal strategy.
Yes, which is why knowing to confidently say nothing to declare matters so much.
The legal contract.
It is legally binding, yes, but psychologically, delivering it smoothly removes friction. It tells the authoritative environment that you understand the rules. You're a low-risk variable.
You pass the final behavioral filter and the door's open.
A smooth entry.
Amazing. Okay, let's summarize this incredible deep dive. We started with the tactical syntax of politely asking for directions, right? And we learned why that 23-kilogram limit is actually about saving human spines.
Ergonomic boundaries.
Then we survived the rigid choreography of the security line, managed our terminal time by keeping an eye on that on-time status, and used mundane interactions to stay grounded.
Not to mention claiming the coveted window seat.
Yes, and surviving the fluid dynamics of boarding, before finally breezing through customs with nothing to declare.
The overarching takeaway for you listening is that mastering these steps and these natural expressions provides agency.
It really does.
When you grasp the machinery beneath the surface, you stop reacting to the stress. You can focus on the joy of the destination rather than the anxiety of the transit.
You become the ultimate savvy traveler. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought.
Oh, like these.
Think about this. Airports are basically massive behavioral experiments in moving people efficiently. So next time you fly, consider the silent architecture around you.
The physical design itself.
Yeah. From the subtle curve of the walkways that naturally dictates how fast you walk, to the way you are unavoidably funneled through those brightly lit duty-free shops.
It's never an accident.
Even the strategic placement of those on-time flight screens. How might the architecture of the airport itself be secretly steering your every move and impulse without anyone ever saying a single word to you?
It's a fascinating layer of invisible control to mull over while you wait at your gate.
It really boggles the mind. Keep your liquids packed, practice your tactical politeness, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.